Hi guys, Phil here from the Mindful Mover, and today we're going to go over one of our favorite mobility exercises, the split squat. Here we go. The split squat is a great mobility exercise that will improve your ankle mobility, it'll improve your hip mobility, it'll have carryover towards your squat depth, your front splits. If you have issues with lower back pain from sitting a lot or anything like that, it may even help that. It's a great exercise with a lot of benefits, and it's an exercise that is very worth your time. But of course, to get all of those benefits, you have to make sure that you have the correct form with it. So let's go over how to do a proper split squat. You're going to start off by putting your feet into a split position. That's why it's called a split squat. Creative name, right? So one foot goes in front of the other, and your feet should be like they're on train tracks, not a tightrope. Make sure they're on two different lines. Once you've got one foot in front of the other, what we're going to do is lower down and forward like we're going down an escalator. You want to make sure you're going down and forward to get that full stretch in the ankles and the hips. Very important. When you reach the bottom position, make sure that you have the 5 split squat form cues all happening at one time. Number 1, your front foot should be flat. Number 2, your knee should be past your toes. Number 3, your hamstrings should be covering your calves. Number 4, your chest should be upright. And number 5, your back leg should be almost straight. Make sure you have those 5 split squat form cues happening all at once to make sure that you get all the gains that split squats give. From there, push back and up until you return to the original starting position and perform it for repetitions. If you can't perform a split squat on the ground with those 5 cues happening, then what you're going to do is elevate your front foot until you're able to. Add as much elevation as you need to get those 5 cues going at the same time, and over time begin to work the elevation down until you're on the ground. If you're more advanced, you can elevate your back leg. Remember that when you're elevating that back leg, we want to make sure that those 5 cues are still happening. So we're only going to use at most about 4 to 6 inches of elevation. If you use too much elevation, you'll start to miss out on the other cues, like your front foot staying flat or your hamstrings touching your calves. Make sure it's just enough elevation that you can get all the way down and get the full mobility benefits. Alright, let's go over some key notes for this exercise to get the most out of it. Keynote number 1, make sure that front foot stays flat. If your heel comes up, you can lose some of the mobility gains on that front leg. So make sure your front heel stays flat on the ground. Keynote number 2, make sure that your front knee goes past the toes. Now that might sound crazy because you may have heard other trainers or fitness authorities say that your knee should not go past your toes when doing things like squats. And we're going to go over that more in another video, but for right now, just remember, whenever you go upstairs, your knee ends up going past your toes anyway. In fact, it would be very hard to walk upstairs with your knee behind your toes. So we'll go over it later. For right now, just understand that's full range of motion. Keynote number 3, make sure that your hamstrings cover your calves on the front leg. Again, that's part of getting full range of motion. Now, for some of us, getting your hamstrings to cover your calves is not going to be that hard because some of us don't really have big calves. But, do your best. Keynote number 4, make sure that your chest stays upright. If you let your chest lean forward, you'll take some of the stretch off of your back leg. You don't want to do that because then you're going to miss out on some of the mobility benefits. So keep your chest upright as you perform the split squat so that you get all the mobility gains you can from this exercise. Key point number 5, make sure that your back leg is as straight as it can be. So it doesn't have to be 100% locked out, but make sure it's as straight as possible. Again, what this does is puts a big stretch on the back leg, and that lets you get all your mobility gains. If you bend it too much, you'll begin to lose those mobility gains, and you don't want that, so keep that back leg straight. Keynote number 6. Remember, if you're not able to follow those 5 split squat form cues, what you're going to do is elevate your front leg until you're able to. How much elevation should you use? Well, use just enough elevation that you're able to follow those 5 split squat form cues. And as your mobility improves, reduce the elevation, always trying to focus on using the least amount needed while still following the 5 form cues. If you get that down, eventually you'll be on the ground and you'll be split squatting with full range of motion with no elevation required. Keynote number 7. If you are using the advanced split squat version with the back leg elevated, remember, don't elevate your back leg too high. 4 to 6 inches is probably the max for most people. If you elevate the back leg too high, you won't be able to get all the way down, and again, you'll begin to miss out on mobility benefits. So avoid that. Make sure you keep the elevation at a level where you get a bigger stretch, not less stretch. Key point number 8. You can load this movement up with things like a weight vest, dumbbells, a barbell, whatever, but make sure that when you're doing this movement, you're using a load that still lets you get full range of motion. Don't sacrifice range of motion for the load, otherwise you'll miss out on some of the mobility gains. And there you have it. That's the split squat. So follow those 5 form cues and follow those key notes, and if you do that, you're going to perform a great split squat that will help improve your ankle mobility, hip mobility, get you deeper into a squat, front split, tons of gains. Give it a try, get it with the gains train, woo woo.